Students, in the previous lecture, we have discussed about the induction heating and its type, which includes the direct induction heating and the indirect induction heating. After this, we will move towards the induction furnaces. Again, there are two types of induction furnaces. One is the core type induction furnace, and the second one is the coreless induction furnace. We have discussed its construction, working, advantages, uses, and their limitation, along with the relevant examples. And in the last, we have discussed the methods of obtaining of power supply. Now today we will move towards another topic, which is the high frequency eddy current heating. This is also known as induction heating. The material to be heated is placed inside the coil. The heat in the material to be heated is produced by eddy currents. Power loss due to eddy current is eddy current loss and appears in the form of heat. The metal to be heated is placed within a high frequency current carrying coil as shown in figure 3.15. It is basically the high frequency coil. We have just put the material within this coil, which is to be heated. And how the heat is transferred from the high frequency coil to the charge to the material is with the help of eddy currents. By doing so, alternating magnetic field is set up. Eddy currents are induced in the metal piece and heating is affected. Now in this sentence, the working or the basic phenomena of eddy high frequency eddy current heating is discussed. The power loss due to eddy current in the metal piece depends upon the power drawn by the metal piece. The eddy current loss is given by this relation, and from this relation we have seen that the eddy current loss is directly proportional to the square of the maximum flux density multiplied by the square of the frequency, and it is inversely proportional to the resistivity of the metal piece. Since the eddy current loss is proportional to the product of square of supply frequency and square of flux density as shown in the equation, therefore by controlling these two factors, that is the magnetic flux density and by changing the supply frequency, we can change the amount of heat at which the metal to be heated, the material to be heated. The frequency may vary from 50 Hz to 8 MHz depending upon the type of work done. Here the frequency range is given that in high frequency eddy current heating we can change the frequency from 50 Hz to the 8 MHz depending on the material to be heated. This method is frequently used for forging, annealing, and the process is economical for continuous heating. Now, what are the advantages of eddy current heating? Advantages include that it is quick and clear. There is little wastage of heat as heat is produced in the body to be heated up directly. Because eddy current is going to produce heating, so there is no third media is involved within it. There is a direct introduction of heat from the high frequency coil to the material to be heated. Temperature control is easy. That is, by controlling the supply frequency and flux density, we can easily control the amount of heat or temperature. The heat can be made to penetrate into the metal surface to a desired path, to the desired depth. The equipment can be operated even by unskilled worker. Now, what are the disadvantages of eddy current heating? That it is the costly method for the production of heat. It has very low efficiency and the initial cost of operators is very high. Eddy current heating is used for the heat treatment of metals such as annealing, tempering, surface hardening, and all the other relevant things. So all this is about the high frequency eddy current heating. Now we will move towards the electric arc heating. The arc furnace depends upon the principle of heat generated by electric arc. As the name indicates that there is electric arc. By the help of electric arc, we can heat the charge or the material. The electric arc heating may be used in following different ways. By striking the arc between the charge and electrode, and the second one or the second method is that by striking the arc between the two electrodes. The working of the electric arc heating is very much similar to the resistance heating, which we have discussed in the third lecture. Now we will see the first part, that is by striking the arc between the charge and electrode. In this method, the heat is directly conducted and taken by the charge. We just put the electrodes in such a manner that the electrode directly in contact with the charge. Whenever the current is passed through it, the current completes its path by flowing through the charge. So there is a direct conduction of the heat has been taken place. The furnace operating on this principle are known as direct arc furnace. The furnaces are used for production and refining of various grade of steels. The second part is that by striking the arc between the two electrodes. We can also that it is very similar to the indirect resistance heating. In this method, the heat is transferred to the charge by radiation. The heat is transferred to the charge by radiation. The furnace operating on this principle are known as indirect arc furnaces. These type of furnaces are used for melting of non-ferrous metals such as brass, copper, and zinc. We will discuss these two topics in more detail in the following topic. Now we will move toward the arc furnaces. There are two types of arc furnaces. One is the direct arc furnaces, which is based on the phenomena 1. And there is an indirect arc furnace which is based on the phenomena number 2. Now we will move towards the direct arc furnace. First I will show you the figure. In the figure you can see easily the direct arc furnace. In direct arc furnace there is a refractory lining. These 3 rods are basically the electrodes. Here it is the representation of the arc, and these dotted line basically representing the charge, and this white portion basically show the path from where we can get the molten charge. We take out the molten charge from this path in order to perform some other work. So this is an example of the direct arc furnace. The current is into the charge through these electrodes. and the arc is produced which is in direct contact with the charge, and it directly heats up the charge. So this phenomena is called the striking striking of arc between the charge and electrode. The chamber of the furnace is lined with refractory material. The arc is struck between the electrode and charge. Three electrodes made of carbon and graphite are projected from the top of the furnace, and three-phase supply is given. The current passes through them via the charge. Since the arc is in direct contact with the charge, so it is possible to produce highest temperatures by this method, because from the figure it is quite clear that the arc is in direct contact with the charge. As the current passes through the charge, it will produce automatic stirring action. Definitely, whenever the material which is very near to the arc gets melt down, it will go down and the other material will take its place. So automatic stirring action is going to take place here. The arc has a negative resistance characteristic. That is, resistance fall with the increase in temperature. Thus, some sort of current limiting device is required in the circuit to prevent short circuit. This may be in the form of reactor. So basically, we need a protective equipment in order to save our furnace from being short circuited. Direct arc furnaces are very commonly used for production of steel. It is costlier than cupola method. There is a charging door from where the charge is supplied, and also there is an outlet for molten metal, as I have shown that it is the outlet, and we have put or we have insert the charge from some other hole, which is not shown in the figure. The usual size of furnace is 5 to 10 ton capacity. For melting 1 ton of steel, 1000 unit of energy are consumed. So all this is about the direct arc furnace. Now we will move towards the indirect furnace. Before I proceed to the indirect furnace, I will show you the figure. Here there is an heating chamber which is shown here as a rectangular box, and again the black rods are basically the electrodes. Two rods are there, and there is some space within which the arc is produced and the charge is placed beneath it. The arc or the heat which is produced above, the heat is transferred from this arc to the charge on the phenomena of radiation. Now we will move towards the detail of this indirect arc furnace. In this furnace, the arc is formed between the two electrodes, and heat is produced is transmitted to the charge by radiation. The temperature is lower than direct arc furnace, because in direct furnace there is a direct contact of the arc with the material to be heated, but here the arc is produced somewhat above the material, so the temperature is lower than the direct arc furnace. So these furnaces are suitable for melting metals having low melting points. For example, non-ferrous metals such as brass, copper and zinc. The arc is struck between the electrodes, so only two electrodes are required. The supply is therefore single phase. In comparison to it, their three-phase supply is given to the direct arc furnaces. Over there you already seen that there are three electrodes which are in direct contact with the charge. So in that case there is a three-phase supply, and in indirect arc furnace there is a single phase supply. Since during the process of heating the electrodes are consumed, so the feeding of electrodes to the furnace is automatic. The furnace is cylindrical in shape. Since the arc does not come in contact with the charge, so the automatic stirring action which is present in direct arc furnace is absent in this case. Here we have to make some extra equipment in order to make the stirring action in the charge. The furnace may be equipped with automatic rocking equipment. The power factor varies from 0.7 to 0.8. The electrode material and electrical equipment is similar to that used for direct arc furnace. So all this is about the indirect arc furnace. Now we will move towards another type of the arc furnace, which is some modification of the indirect arc furnace. We can name it as submerged arc furnace. From the figure it is clear that here the electrodes are in between the charge, but in indirect arc furnace the electrodes and arc is produced above the charge. From the figure it is quite clear that the electrodes are within the charge and the charge is represented by the dotted lines. This furnace is used for manufacture of ferrochrome and ferromanganese. In this furnace, the electrodes project down into the charge, remain submerged in it as shown in figure. Its power factor is about 0.8. The major part of heat is produced due to resistance offered by the charge to the flow of current. Moreover, power is controlled by varying the distance between the electrodes or by varying the applied to the electrode. So this is about the submerged arc furnace. Now we will move towards the method of obtaining power supply for arc furnaces. Power consumption of the arc furnaces is very high. The arc voltage is low, that is between 50 to 150 volts, but the current required is of the order of several hundred amperes. As the heating effect is proportional to the square of the current, therefore higher current is essential to achieve higher temperature. For obtaining the required power supply, a three-phase arc furnace transformer is used. When the electrodes are short-circuited, the total input to the furnace is almost zero. On the other hand, when the electrodes are far away, arc is extinguished and there is no power drawn from the supply mains. So for today it is enough. In today's lecture, we have discussed about the high frequency eddy current heating, its basic working principle, and on the basis of the equation we can determine that how the eddy current loss is controlled. After this, we have discussed about the advantages and disadvantages and the uses of eddy current heating. After this, we will move towards the new topic, which is the electric arc heating. We have discussed the different ways of producing electric arc heating. After this, we have discussed about the arc furnaces, which is based on its method named direct arc furnace and the indirect arc furnace. We have discussed graphically and pictorially its type, which is the direct arc furnace and the indirect arc furnace. After this, we have discussed little bit about the modification which are being made in indirect arc furnace and named it submerged arc furnace. And in the last, we have discussed about the method of obtaining power supply for arc furnaces. So for today, it is enough. And if you have any confusion regarding this topic, you can discuss with me during the discussion hour. So thank you very much and Allah Hafiz.